Thank you for inviting me to contribute to this conversation on the essential action of women religious congregations in caring for victims and survivors of human trafficking and the urgent need to support them. I'm Olivia Umoh. I'm a daughter of Charity of St. Vincent de Paul, the director of Safe Child Advocacy, Catholic Archdiocese of Kumasi. I'm the coordinator for Talitakum Ghana. That is the network of consecrated persons in Ghana against human trafficking. We are part of the International Talitakum Network. I'm also the director for safeguarding and protection of children and for the prevention of domestic violence for the Archdiocese of Kumasi, Ghana. My presentation will follow this simple outline. I begin by sharing about my work. Safe Child Advocacy, Catholic Archdiocese of Kumasi was founded in 2005 by the Catholic Archdiocese of Kumasi in collaboration with the Daughters of Charity of St. Vincent de Paul, who since its inception have been the managers of this service. Safe Child Advocacy was founded to address the problem of children on the streets of Kumasi. We support children in street situations, youth, women, families in the same situations, to reintegrate and rehabilitate them. We sponsor children and youth in formal education as well as in employable skill training. We safeguard children from abuse and work towards rescuing children from abusive situations and working with families to make families safer for children. I provide consultancy services on safeguarding, on prevention of domestic violence and human trafficking. We welcome homeless families and help them to settle, as well as families on the move, migrant families. We carry out advocacy to get governments awakened to their responsibility. We carry out extensive public education in order to prevent these situations of concern. At the upper part of my slides there, you see a sea of girls in street situations in a drop-in center where we educate them on human trafficking and other issues to keep them safe. Below, the photo shows girls that we have supported through skill training at their graduation ceremony. After skill training support, we also support with set-up items for the graduates so they can be empowered to take up their lives and become economically independent and thereby break the vicious cycle of poverty and vulnerability. These are girls that we've supported from vulnerability to entrepreneurship. Besides working with children, families, women, and youth in street situations, we extended our scope of service in 2016 to combating human trafficking because we realized that children in street situations were very vulnerable to human trafficking. In 2018, Talitakum International Network conducted a training for consecrated persons in Ghana, and the network, the training was conducted for representatives of various religious congregations of women in Ghana. And from that training gave birth to a network called Compact Talitakum Ghana, a branch of the Talitakum International Network. It is on during this occasion of training or after the training, I was appointed the coordinator for this network for Ghana. a position that I hold till date, a position that has exposed me to so many victims of human trafficking, and to do a lot to combat human trafficking. And we believe that we are stronger together, and that together we can fight human trafficking. So these are a cross-section of members of the Talitakum Ghana at our last in-person meeting. Our network is made up of representatives of over 20 women religious congregations and 8 male religious congregations. And the network has also open to welcome members from the civil society organization, especially organizations who are credible and stand to fight against human trafficking. Our anti-human trafficking activities include rescue of victims of trafficking, which we do in collaboration with the Anti-Trafficking Police Unit of the Ghana Police, welcoming victims who return from other countries back to Ghana, providing them with shelter and care, supporting transportation of victims to return to their countries. We support reintegration, rehabilitation of survivors. We also support and encourage prosecution of perpetrators in order to prevent the continuity of human trafficking. We are also extensively into public education against human trafficking. It involves a lot. Working to combat human trafficking is a very challenging ministry. But faith has been a source of strength. My faith in God has been a source of strength for me, for my sisters and team of staff, because I do not work alone. I work with my 3 sisters in the community in Kumasi, as well as a team of staff. I work with about 35 staff, as well as members of the Talitakum Ghana spread out in different parts of the country. We believe everyone is a child of God, made in His image and likeness, and should be accorded the care, support, and protection needed to thrive. We also believe in the dignity of the human person, and this remains the primary motivation to continuously open our doors to welcome victims and survivors who turn to us in desperation. We believe also that every kind deed done has a positive reward. Our faith in the charity of Jesus crucified urges us on. This is the motto of the Daughters of Charity of St. Vincent de Paul. The charity of Jesus Christ crucified urges us on, and the charity of Jesus knows no bound. These are all the components of faith that sustains us in this service. Faith in the divine providence has been our stronghold. Our faith in divine providence knows no bound. This is our inheritance also from our founders, St. Vincent de Paul and St. Louis de Marillac. We believe that God will not leave us wanting, and that is why, although human and material resources are very limited and sometimes unavailable, we never turn down anyone in need, especially victims of trafficking, because we know that they are so vulnerable, and when we don't open our doors to them, they simply go back to their traffickers and they remain slaves forever. What is amazing is that our jar of flour never goes empty, nor the jug of oil goes dry. This is what we believe in, and this is what we hold on to in spite of everything, from 1 Kings 17, verse 16. There is always room for one more, said Nikki Crooks, and this also inspires us, that there is always room for one more. And even though our little shelter meant for children in street situation is full, we never turn away a victim of trafficking. This is the daily miracle that we experience, that God will not leave us wanting. The needs that we address are overwhelming, and there are limited actors to respond or to address them. For instance, over 20,000 children and youths between the ages of 7 and 23 live on the streets of Kumasi. It is also estimated that over 60,000 children live on the streets of Accra, the capital city of Ghana. Overwhelming number of young people are trafficked daily from different countries into Ghana and forced into prostitution and other dehumanizing engagements. This is our situation. Yet, we seem sometimes to be alone. We seem to find no other options. And so we have to respond. Although there are many people involved in the Talitakum network, they have not developed services to respond. The members of the network are extensively involved in education, public education, which is a lot of work and a lot of help, because if people are educated, fathers, mothers, families will help to prevent human trafficking, and the young people themselves will not allow themselves to be trafficked. But when it comes to responding to the actual victims and survivors' need, it is very difficult to find shelter, to find care, thanks to Hilton Conrad Foundation, who came to our rescue since 2023 to support us with funding that we use to respond to these needs. In the past, we were just in distress. Sometimes you will have them and you wouldn't know where to get the means. But we got that support. But you can imagine the overwhelming situations that we face. This support seemed to be a drop in the ocean. Thanks also to Talitakum International, who once in a while give us some support to respond to these overwhelming needs. There are no shelters, and we wish there could be shelters. We could provide shelters so we can support these victims and survivors more. My project and the need for sustainability. We need funds to support children in street situations access formal education and skill training in order to prevent them from becoming victims of human trafficking. We also need funds to support victims and survivors of human trafficking at various levels, beginning from rescue to provision of shelter and care. You know, when victims are rescued, it is another ball game providing for them until the time that you can transport them home. Even transportation is money. To transport victims to different parts of the Africa. For instance, a few days ago, we had to transport 5 young people to Central Africa Republic. And almost every 2 weeks, we have to transport victims from Ghana to Nigeria. Sometimes we have to transport victims to Cameroon, to Burkina Faso, to Mali, and to Benin Republic. All of this need money. Keeping victims when they are rescued, taking care of them, providing medical, providing food, providing clothing, all of these are need funds. And when we cannot keep victims, that means they cannot also prosecute their perpetrators, even when the police arrest perpetrators and there is no place to keep the victim for an extensive period of time. Then we lose the case, because the police, the court will not hurry over these cases. We wish the court could take these cases seriously and speed up the process, and so these girls or these victims will not have to wait for long, because when we don't have special shelter for them and the resources, we may not be able to keep them long. Funds are equally needed for public education. To go from place to place, to host webinars, to host meetings, demands funding. And in order to sustain this service, we are in dire need of funds. and we are calling on the public, calling on civil society organizations, calling on development agencies who have big funding to support government to also extend their support to non-government organizations, women religious organizations who are involved in combating human trafficking, who are involved in supporting victims and survivors of human trafficking. We do a lot, but we hardly get the support that we need to respond to this need. And so, in conclusion, that is our cry for help. We call for help. We cry out to public to come to our aid. We really need shelter. In Ghana, there is only one shelter owned by the government in Accra and one shelter owned by a Catholic congregation, male congregation, also in Accra. And what is that to the huge number of victims that escape from human trafficking or are rescued by the police and need help? We are calling for help so that we can have a shelter that can take care of our victims and survivors of human trafficking and help them reintegrate properly into society. We are grateful for this opportunity to contribute to this discussion, as I said at the beginning. And as I speak in this call, I'm speaking on behalf of the Daughters of Charity of St. Vincent de Paul in Kumasi, Ghana, Safe Child Advocacy of the Archdiocese of Kumasi, Compact Talitakum, Ghana, and Talitakum International Network. And we are thankful really to all our network, all our partners, all our collaborators, all who support us. Special among them is the Anti-Trafficking Police Unit in Kumasi, the International Organization for Migration, IOM, Conrad Hilton Foundation, who has supported us to be able to give these responses, and Talitakum International Network. Thank you very much once again for having us here.